The first time I realized Miss Eleanor Hartley might feel something more for me than a governess should feel for her charge. We were in the library at Ashford Hall on a gray March afternoon in 1892, and she was teaching me French conjugations while rain hammered against the windows. I was 19, officially finished with my education, but Eleanor had stayed on as a companion of sorts, my father claiming I still needed guidance before my eventual marriage. Répétez après moi, Eleanor said, leaning over my shoulder to point at the text. Time. I repeated the words, my accent terrible as always. She laughed, the sound soft and warm. No, listen, time. She said it again slowly, her lips so close to my ear, I could feel her breath. I love you. That's what it means, Lady Beatrice. Time. I know what it means, I whispered. Then say it properly. But I couldn't. Because suddenly those words felt too real, too dangerous, too much like admitting something that had been growing between us for months. The way she'd look at me during our lessons. The way her hand would linger on mine when correcting my penmanship. The way we'd find excuses to be alone together, just the two of us in a house full of servants and protocol. Eleanor, I said quietly, turning in my chair to face her. She was so close. Green eyes, dark hair pulled back in that severe governess style that somehow made her more beautiful. My lady, do you ever wish ... I stopped. Couldn't finish. Didn't need to. Because she knew. I could see it in her face. Every day, she whispered. I wish every single day. And then my father burst through the library doors with the Duke of Somerset, and our perfect stolen moment shattered like glass. Tell me where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. And if stories like mine resonate with you, please hit that subscribe button. Your support helps this channel reach people learning that love in the Regency era was just as complicated, just as forbidden, and just as real as it is today. My name is Lady Beatrice Ashford, and this is the story of how I fell in love with my governess. Eleanor Hartley in 1892 England, how my father arranged my marriage to a duke. I'd never met, and how Eleanor did something so scandalous and brave that it changed both our lives forever. I was 7 years old when Eleanor Hartley arrived at Ashford Hall. She was 21, freshly graduated from a ladies' academy in Bath, hired to educate the only daughter of Viscount Ashford. My mother had died in childbirth with a son who didn't survive, and my father had never remarried. So Eleanor became the constant female presence in my life. Teacher, companion, confidant. She taught me everything. French, literature, music, deportment, how to walk properly, speak properly, be proper. But she also taught me how to think, how to question, how to see the world as more than just drawing rooms and marriage markets. You have a brilliant mind, Beatrice, she'd tell me during our lessons. Don't let anyone convince you that's a liability. My father would have disagreed. To him, my mind was something to be managed, not cultivated. I was an investment. A valuable commodity to be traded for the right alliance. Your job is to marry well, he'd say. To bring honor to this family through advantageous connection. Everything else is secondary. Eleanor disagreed, though she could never say so directly. But in the books she'd assign, the conversations we'd have, the world she'd open up to me, I understood. She thought I deserved more than to be sold to the highest bidder. As I grew older, our relationship shifted. By the time I was 16, Eleanor was more friend than governess. By 18, she was the person I trusted most in the world. And by 19, I was desperately impossibly in love with her. I don't know when it happened exactly. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe it was the night she sat with me after my father announced his expectations for my future and I cried myself sick. Maybe it was the afternoon we read poetry together and our hands touched and neither of us moved away. Maybe it was the 100 small moments where I realized that being with her felt more right than anything else in my life. I never said anything. Women didn't say such things in 1892 England. Women didn't love other women, or if they did, they buried it deep and married men and lived half-lives of propriety and pretense. But I saw the way Eleanor looked at me sometimes. Saw the way she'd make excuses to touch my hand, adjust my collar, fix my hair. Saw the longing in her eyes that mirrored my own. That March afternoon in the library, With rain against the windows and French verbs hanging in the air between us, I'd been about to say something. To finally speak the truth that I'd been building for months. Do you ever wish ... double quotes? Every day. I wish every single day. And then my father burst in. Beatrice! He sounded triumphant, excited, which immediately made me nervous. Behind him was a man I'd never met. Tall, maybe 40 years old, expensively dressed. May I present His Grace, the Duke of Somerset. Your Grace, my daughter, Lady Beatrice. The Duke looked at me with the expression of a man assessing livestock, evaluating, calculating value. Charming, he said. Not to me, to my father, like I wasn't standing right there. Indeed, I believe you'll find her quite suitable for your needs. Your Grace. My stomach dropped. Suitable. Needs. This wasn't a social visit. This was a transaction. And I was the commodity being sold. My father dismissed Eleanor with a wave. Miss Hartley, you may go. The Duke and I have matters to discuss with Lady Beatrice. I watched Eleanor leave, saw the concern in her eyes, the helplessness. She couldn't protect me from this. She was staff. I was aristocracy. The rules were clear. When the door closed behind her, my father smiled. The Duke has made an offer for your hand, Beatrice. A generous offer. This is an extraordinary opportunity for our family. I don't know him, I said quietly. You'll have time to become acquainted. The engagement will be announced next month. The wedding will take place in June. 3 months. He was giving me 3 months before my life ended. I don't want to marry him. My father's smile vanished. What you want is irrelevant. This is your duty, your purpose. The Duke is wealthy, titled, connected. You will marry him and you will do so gratefully. He's old enough to be my father. He's 42. A perfectly appropriate age. His first wife died 2 years ago. He needs heirs and you need a husband. This is how society functions, Beatrice. The Duke had been silent through this exchange. Now he spoke. Lord Ashford, perhaps I might have a moment alone with Lady Beatrice? To ease her concerns? My father agreed, stepped out, left me alone with a stranger who now owned my future. You seem distressed, the Duke said. I am distressed. I don't want this marriage. Many young ladies feel trepidation before marriage. It's natural. But I assure you, I will be a considerate husband. You'll want for nothing materially. And if I want something more than material comfort, such as love, partnership, choice, he laughed, actually laughed. My dear girl, those are fairy tale notions. Marriage among our class is about alliance, duty, producing heirs. If affection develops over time, that's pleasant, but it's not required. What's required is that you fulfill your role. Can you do that? I should have said no. Should have refused. But I was 19 and terrified and powerless. So I said nothing. And my silence was taken as agreement. That night, I went to Eleanor's room. She had quarters in the staff wing. Small but comfortable. She answered my knock in her nightgown, hair down, looking more beautiful than I'd ever seen her. Beatrice! My lady, you shouldn't be here. He's marrying me to the Duke. My father agreed. The announcement is next month. Eleanor's face crumbled. She pulled me inside, closed the door. We stood in her small room, the space between us electric with all the things we'd never said. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I don't want to marry him. I don't want to marry anyone, except ... I couldn't finish. Couldn't say. Except you. Except in some impossible world where 2 women could build a life together. Except in a reality that doesn't exist for people like us. But Eleanor understood. She always understood. I know, she said. I know, Beatrice. Tell me what to do. Please, you're the only person I trust. Tell me how to survive this. She stepped closer, took my hands in hers. You'll survive because you're strong, because you're brilliant. Because even in a marriage you didn't choose, you'll find ways to be yourself. You'll read, you'll think, you'll grow. And someday, when the Duke is old and you're wealthy and free, you'll live the life you want. Without you, I'll have to leave. Once you're married, I can't stay. It wouldn't be appropriate. Appropriate. I hate that word. Appropriate has ruined everything. It's kept us safe. Has it? Are we safe? Or are we just slowly dying inside while pretending to be proper? Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. What would you have me do? Tell me, Beatrice. What's the alternative? We can't be together. Not really. Even if you refuse this marriage, there would be another. And another. Until your father found someone you couldn't refuse. At least the Duke is wealthy and will leave you mostly alone. That's what I'm supposed to want. To be left alone by my husband? To live a half-life of loneliness and pretense? It's what we all want, those of us with unconventional hearts. We want to be left alone to find what happiness we can in the margins. It's the best we can hope for. I want more than margins. I want you. The words were out before I could stop them, hanging in the air between us like a confession and a plea and a prayer. Eleanor's breath caught. Beatrice ... I love you. I have loved you for so long. And I know I shouldn't say it. I know it's impossible and inappropriate and wrong by every standard we've been taught. But it's true. I love you. And I don't want to marry the Duke. I don't want to marry anyone. I just want you. For a long moment, Eleanor just stared at me. Then she did something I never expected. She cupped my face in her hands and kissed me. Soft and desperate and sweet. My first kiss. From the woman I loved in a small staff room in the middle of the night while my future was being sold to a stranger. When we broke apart, we were both crying. I love you too, Eleanor whispered. I have loved you for years. Since you were 17 and started reading philosophy and asking questions no governess wanted to answer. Since you stopped being a child and became this extraordinary woman who deserves so much more than what this world will give her. I love you. And it breaks my heart that loving you means nothing. Changes nothing. It changes everything to me. But not for your father. Not for the Duke. Not for society. We can have this moment, Beatrice. But we can't have a life. You understand that, don't you? I did. But understanding didn't make it hurt less. The engagement was announced 3 weeks later. A notice in the Times. Lady Beatrice Ashford, only daughter of Viscount Ashford, engaged to His Grace William Thornton, Duke of Somerset. The wedding would take place in June at our estate chapel. Society approved. My father was thrilled. The Duke sent expensive gifts, and I felt like I was drowning. Eleanor and I stole what moments we could. Late-night conversations in the library. Walks in the garden where we'd hold hands when no one was watching. Stolen kisses in shadowed corridors. We knew it was temporary. Knew that once I married, she'd have to leave and we'd never see each other again. Come with me, I begged one night. After the wedding. Come as my companion. My lady's maid, something, anything so you're still close. And torture myself watching you live as his wife? Seeing you every day and not being able to touch you? That would be cruelty, Beatrice. For both of us. Then what? We just say goodbye and pretend these months never happened? We say goodbye and treasure them forever. We accept that some love stories don't have happy endings. That sometimes the best we can do is survive. But I didn't want to survive. I wanted to live. I wanted her. 1 month before the wedding, everything changed. The Duke came for an extended visit. A week at Ashford Hall to become better acquainted with his future bride. It was torture. Long dinners where I had to smile and be charming. Walks where he'd lecture me about his expectations for our marriage. Evenings in the drawing room where he'd discuss his estate, his political connections, his first wife's failures to produce an heir. You're young and healthy, he said to me one evening, in front of my father and Eleanor who was serving tea. I expect you'll have no difficulty fulfilling your primary duty. Eleanor's hand shook, nearly dropping the teacup. She knew what he meant, what he was reducing me to. A breeding vessel. Nothing more. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced my room, furious and terrified and desperate. At midnight, I heard a soft knock. Eleanor slipped inside, closed the door. I can't let this happen, she said without preamble. What? I can't let him have you. I can't stand by and watch you marry that man who sees you as property. I can't, Beatrice.
I thought I could. Thought I was strong enough, but I'm not. What are you saying?
She took a deep breath. Run away with me. What?
Leave. Tonight. Right now.
We'll take what money we have. Get to London, disappear. We'll find work, rent a small flat. Live quietly as two women sharing lodgings. No one will question it.
Spinsters live together all the time. Eleanor, that's insane. My father will find us. The Duke will let them try.
Once you're gone, the engagement is broken. The scandal will be enormous. Your father will be furious, but you'll be free. We'll be free. Together.
We'll be ruined, destitute, disgraced, but together. Eleanor ... I'm begging you, Beatrice. Marry me instead. Not legally. We can't do that, but in every way that matters.
Choose me. Choose us. Choose the life we could have over the life they're forcing on you. I should have said no. Should have been practical. Sensible. Proper.
But standing there in my bedroom at midnight with Eleanor begging me to run away with her, I realized something. I'd rather be ruined with her than proper without her. I'd rather be poor and together than rich and apart. I'd rather have 20 years of real love than 50 years of comfortable pretense.
Yes, I said. Yes, yes,
yes. Let's run away. Let's be ruined. Let's choose each other over everything else.
Eleanor laughed and cried at the same time. Kissed me like we had all the time in the world instead of the hour we had before dawn. We packed quickly.
2 small bags each. Practical clothes. What little money I had.
Eleanor had saved some wages.
Together we had maybe £50. Enough for train tickets to London and a few weeks' lodging while we figured out the rest.
We left through the servants' entrance at 3 a.m, walked 5 miles to the village train station. Waited in the cold for the first London train. Neither of us spoke much. Too terrified we'd be caught. Too exhilarated by what we were doing. The train came at dawn. We boarded. Found a third-class compartment.
And as Ashford Hall disappeared behind us, Eleanor took my hand.
Are you frightened? She asked. Terrified. Me too. But happy. Happier than I've ever been. Me too. My father discovered our disappearance by noon. He sent investigators immediately. But London in 1892 was enormous, and 2 women living as spinster roommates were practically invisible. We found lodgings in Bloomsbury.
A tiny 2-room flat. Eleanor found work as a tutor. I gave piano lessons.
We lived on almost nothing. Ate simple food. Wore old clothes. And we were happier than I'd ever imagined possible. Society would have called us ruined, disgraced. But we called ourselves free. We were together.
We had small lives, but they were our lives. We had each other.
The Duke broke the engagement, cited family complications.
My father claimed I'd gone abroad for my health. Society whispered but eventually moved on to new scandals. Years passed.
Eleanor and I grew older together in our small flat.
Some mornings I'd wake up and watch her sleeping and think about what I'd given up. The title, the wealth, the status. The life of comfort and propriety I could have had as a duchess. And I'd feel nothing but relief that I'd chosen this instead. Chosen love, chosen truth, chosen her. We never married men, never had the lives society expected, but we had each other. For 43 years, we had each other.
We grew old together in that Bloomsbury flat. Eleanor kept teaching. I kept giving piano lessons. We became those 2 spinster ladies upstairs.
To our neighbors, respectable, boring, invisible, perfect. Eleanor died first, age 68, of pneumonia.
I held her hand in the hospital while she struggled to breathe, and she looked at me with those green eyes and whispered, "Best decision I ever made. Running away with you. Best decision of my entire life. Mine too. You don't regret it? Not being a duchess?" "I regret nothing. I chose you. I choose you again. I choose you every time." She smiled, squeezed my hand, and was gone. I lived another 12 years after Eleanor. Alone in that flat we'd shared, playing piano for students, living on memories. And never once did I regret my choice.
Never once did I wish I'd married the Duke. Never once did I think I'd chosen wrong. Because I'd chosen love. I'd chosen truth. I'd chosen Eleanor. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If you've ever had to choose between duty and love, between what society expects and what your heart demands, between propriety and happiness, I want to hear your story. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and please subscribe to help these stories reach people learning that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say no to the future everyone planned for you, and yes to the one only you can imagine. Thank you for being here, for listening, for understanding that love has always required courage, especially when society called it impossible.